You want your girlfriend to see games can really convey feelings in a good story, but she's not much of a gamer. That's a good question. So if you don't want any, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go about it too. Like you could do something where you're like playing alongside her, and like if you wanted to do the bullet hell parts of Undertale and stuff, that's always a possibility. And even if she's not like a regular gamer, if she's willing to like try several times, then she could get good enough to handle the bullet hell stuff in Undertale. But I know that is one of the main things that I understand, that like some people just really don't like those bullet hell sort of mechanics, and that can be definitely off-putting. But stuff that's even more or even less gameplay. One Shot certainly comes to mind immediately. It still has a few somewhat tricky puzzle parts. Unfortunately, one of those is like right at the very beginning of the game. That's a little overly obtuse on the puzzle front, and I think that is a flaw with the game. But it does like it does some interesting things narratively and mechanically. I'm trying to see, like, it depends on just how unfamiliar they are with both games and with like technology or using their computer and stuff, but that is certainly a possibility. Even less like gameplay requirement would maybe be her story. That's not exactly a story that it's, well, I mean, it's sort of. Her story is kind of in a weird spot as far as that goes, because you're not exactly telling a linear story that you're just following along with and experiencing. You're kind of seeing pieces of a narrative and trying to figure out what happened and what's going on. But it uses the medium of a game to tell its narrative in a very unique fashion that ends up being very compelling and has a lot of little like aha, like, or what the hell sort of moments. So her story is definitely a pretty good pick in that realm. Yeah, we'll play Dicey Dungeons again, probably when it's closer to actual release and stuff at this point, but I'm not sure. There's some visual novel options, certainly. The visual novels that I've liked are more gamey. I mean, depending on her no, probably not Doki Doki. I think Doki Doki's more is in a better spot for someone that's already played a couple other games, at least, like has at least a moderate gaming experience under their belt before they're going into an experience like Doki Doki. So probably not that. To the Moon, yeah, To the Moon's a pretty good pick. Like the problems with To the Moon probably won't bother someone that hasn't played a lot of games. To the Moon is one that kind of grew on me over time, because it's gameplay-wise it's pretty bad. It's too long. The writing isn't the best, but its story is really, really strong, really powerful story. That I think when I first finished it, I gave it like a 6.5, but then like every time I thought about it, and I just like thought about it really fondly, so just kind of bumped my rating up over time. Hey, Railcoon. Laughed in amusement at the ending, Ken. Good God, like that, like even reading you say that like hurts my heart a little bit. Like, no, I'm like bawling over here. Don't be laughing. We do have our full To the Moon voice playthrough on YouTube, by the by, so linking that up. I played a little bit of Supreme Commander Jovo. It seemed to pull... So, like, one of the things that made Total Annihilation so great is that it really had kind of this perfect balance in, like, where strategy and tactical play were both extremely important. And you could kind of actually be a good player that, like, was a lot better at one or the other, right? Like, I was probably a little better at tactical play than, like, you know, having ideal build orders and stuff like that. But I could adapt to situations better and, like, micromanage my bombers a little better and stuff like that, while still having decent strategy. So you could, like, be on different spots of that spectrum and still be good. And, like, that balance was, like, something that I thought was really cool about the game. And Supreme Commander definitely pulled that very heavily in the strategy focus side of things, and just kind of scoped things up in a way that didn't seem that great to me, but I also honestly just didn't play it that much, and was never in a good position to be able to embrace it on anywhere the level I embraced TA, so it was never something I was ever going to be able to be objective about, basically, in comparison. Ha, ad hoc, ha. Yeah, I mean, Phoenix Wright's an okay pick. Phoenix Wright's in a weird thing. Yeah, this is like light up here is my overall sentiment with Phoenix Wright, that it's a game that very much doesn't take itself seriously, sometimes to its benefit, sometimes to its detriment. But it's if we're talking about something that's like emotionally moving, then Phoenix Wright is not what I'm looking for. Really, like, emotional gameplay experience can mean a lot of things, right? Like, laughter can be considered an emotional experience, and, you know, there's a lot of funny stuff in Phoenix Wright, or, you know, interesting stuff, but I don't really consider it very, very good on the emotional side of things. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest Portal 2 in that realm. Maybe Portal 1, it has a few, like, timing parts that could be pretty hard. Like, even navigating first-person shooter sort of mechanics, though that can be very difficult for someone that hasn't just, you know, lived their life playing games and gotten used to it. No, I haven't, Wraiths. I don't know if I ever will. I don't have a Switch. It looks like fun, though. Disagree with my assessment of Overwatch? I mean, I don't know how much the game's changed, if that's relevant, but Sombra was new the last I played with any regularity for some comparison. Like, they mostly still had the original cast of characters. Hey, Scott-Free. I have not done Journey. I may have a chance to do Journey now that it is available on the Epic Store for PC. So I might actually have a chance to do Journey now. Let's see. Anything else stand out as a good pick? Let's go back to 7.5. Oh, some of the ones I recently did. Gardens Between is kind of a curveball pick that might be interesting. And Gravity Ghost as well. Both of these I played in 2018 and actually found both of them fairly touching. I could also see both of them feeling completely, like, missing on someone if they don't manage to get invested at all. But they're both easy enough that I think, like, pretty casual players should be able to handle them. And they certainly have the potential to give a good emotional experience, I think. They did for me, anyway. And Marie's Room was a very short little walking simulator thing that, yeah, like I was basically surprised that it still managed to make me care about the characters, despite being just a little short walking sim. I remember, like, I guess I remember, I remember playing Tribes for the first time. Like, I don't remember first, like, ever struggling with Wolfenstein 3D or Doom, probably because, you know, I struggled with all games and just got used to them or whatever. But I do remember struggling with the extra dimension in Tribes and be like, oh, good God, I have to balance, like, floating in the air in addition to looking around, and, like, what the hell? Like, I remember that well enough that I think I can, like, associate that feeling with how someone would probably feel just, like, playing a first-person shooter for the first time when they're not used to it at all. It's just, like, really, like, aliens. Like, how do I move in a way that makes sense? What is happening? I actually find, I think I would say there's more games with good stories than good writing. Like, good writing is what, like, Portal 1 and 2 and Undertale. What else has good writing? Maybe Star Control 2? That has at least decent writing. One Shot's like borderline. It could use some better writing, but it's not bad. Like, it's decent writing. Betrayal at Krondor has good writing, I guess. Like, it's literally written by a fantasy novel, like, fantasy author. Like, an original story written for the game. That he eventually wrote a book based on the story he wrote for the game. But I mean, like, I think of stuff like To the Moon as a game that has a good story but doesn't have particularly great writing. And then, like, something like Cave Story is extremely charming, but its writing is not very good. And Final Fantasy VI writing doesn't live up super well today, but it still has a good story. But, you know, different people are going to have different preferences and different thresholds, of course, right? Stanley Parable has fairly good writing, yeah. But doesn't exactly have a story per se. Honestly, I don't think Sunless Sea has good writing, Arturazu. Like, I know that's what it's, like, sold on and what people, like, claim is good about it and stuff, but I didn't think the writing in Sunless Sea was very good. the biggest thing that stood out to me is that it wasn't consistent at all. Like it jumped all over the place and just felt jarring. Like it was, I guess it felt very clearly written by a bunch, like multiple people. So like the perspective the writing is being like told from changes. Like you go from one port to another, and like the angle that the story is like being told from is just different, and it just doesn't flow very well at all. For my taste, anyway. Like I was disappointed in the writing in it myself. But I know, again, like, not to say, like, oh, you're wrong if you like the writing. A lot of people really like the writing in that, but I didn't have the same experience myself. Stanley Parable, I don't think I would recommend, Raven, for your situation, because that's like kind of what we were talking about with some of the other games, like Doki Doki, right? Like, Stanley Parable is all about, like, Stanley Parable's about video game design, right? Like, about how video games work, and the entire meta-narrative based on expectations and understanding of video games. So, I don't know. It's going to be a lot harder to get as much out of it if you're not familiar with him. I don't think you can get nothing out of it, right? Like, I still think there's value there, right? Like, Undertale's somewhat in that same category too, right? There's definitely a lot of extras you can get from Undertale if you're thoroughly familiar with gaming and gaming tropes and stuff like that, but I still think it's a game well worth experiencing even for people who don't have that background. But Stanley Parable's a little more borderline on that regard for, I think. Never finished FF6, Realcoon? Man, so, I mean, when I was younger, we do plenty of times where we don't finish games now, too, but I feel like that's more like I'm making a decision to do that a lot of times nowadays. But when I was a kid, I believe I played through Final Fantasy VI about 5 or 6 times without ever actually beating it. And, like, was still in the position to consider it, like, my beloved, like, favorite game. But never finished it until like a decade later when I went back and played it and actually finished it. Actually finishing it isn't that big of a deal, mind you. You get the vast majority of the experience without actually finishing it, but I just always petered off late game, trying to do too many of the little side questy stuffs, and then got distracted by something. Never played a Final Fantasy game, formal gasp. I mean, if you ever get the feeling you wanted to try one, you can always try 6 or 9. I wouldn't actually recommend trying any other one for the first time today, probably. And on that note, I should also note that the Steam release of FF6 is garbage, so don't buy the Steam release of Final Fantasy VI. As far as I know, 9's release is actually good, and has actual, like, bonus features rather than anti-features. Stuff that makes the game better versus worse. And of course, we've got our FF6 playthrough as well. That was the first game I ever had camera on our stream here. 4 is pretty rough today, I think, Scott-Free. Like, the writing in Final Fantasy IV is really bad by today's standards. Like, I remember seeing someone stream a little bit of it, like, I think I saw Hoffington playing some of it like a year or two ago, and it's like, man, this is kind of hard to read. This is rough. It's not written well. Hey, Thomas. If you're gonna play Magicka co-op with a significant other, you do want to have the understanding that it's okay to accidentally kill each other. Neither side needs, like, can get upset, like actually upset if they accidentally get killed, because that's gonna happen a lot in Magicka. Oh, she's a huge troll? Okay, perfect. Magicka it is. I think some of the early parts of World Ruin are actually really good, Relkun, but it becomes a little wide. Like there's a whole bunch of little side things you can go do all over the place, and you know it gets that collectathon RPG sort of thing going, but it's a lot. My favorite scene in Final Fantasy VI is actually a little into the World of Ruin, though. Like, I don't know. Let's say 15% through World of Ruin or something. Yeah, so when I replayed Chrono Trigger on stream, scot-free, my opinion was that I didn't think Chrono Trigger's story was terribly strong. Like I didn't really find myself being like, oh, that emotional moment, like, or anything. It was just kind of like, yeah, you're just going through the things, and I still like. I think that kind of grindy gameplay is pretty bad today for my taste, but again, a lot of people like grinding more than I do, so take that into consideration. But the things that stood out was, like, I mean, I knew Chrono Trigger's music was good, right? But when I replayed it, it was like, wow, I didn't remember just how good this music was. And it was just a really fun world to be a part of, is the way I ended up describing it. It was like it's kind of something that's outside of just the story or writing or whatever. It was just a fun world to experience and be a part of. Like, even if the actual narrative wasn't that strong or super emotionally compelling, it was just a cool place to be. And I would say 9 is better than 10, Raven, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some argument there. 9 does some pretty cool stuff. The last fourth of Final Fantasy IX kind of just goes off into nonsense crazy town. Although that said, one of the best scenes in 9 is, I think, in that last 25%, so take it how you will. But yeah, I didn't like 10 that much. Hey, Attack Cat. These are my own ratings, Attack Cat. I'm still 3 minutes behind on chat. I don't have a Switch, Adhoc, no. I played Smash Ultimate last GDQ. Basically, I arrived fairly early before many people were there, and we just kind of played Smash for several hours, and that was the only time I played it. But it was a lot of fun, so it was pretty good. With Relkun, for example, and some other folks. Also, I thought the World Ends With You is a Switch game. It was Okay, what was I thinking of? When you guys were talking about The World Ends With You, I was thinking of an old PC first-person shooter spy game that probably came out early 2000s? Was that re-released on Switch or something? Khadgar. Hey, good John. So I think I used to probably say Chrono Cross's music was better. I think after replaying Chrono Trigger, I like Chrono Trigger's better, but they're both excellent. I love Chrono Cross's soundtrack too. I don't care for it much as a game myself, but the music is really strong. Yeah, exactly, Raven. Most Final Fantasy endings are kind of just bananas. 6 is, I mean, like, you know, bananas, but a little more stable. 7 is bananas, 8 is ultra bananas, 9 is bananas, 10 is bananas. So, yeah, out of those, 6 is the most stable as far as, like a coherent ending and stuff goes. It's a 3DS re-released on Switch, okay. I'm thinking of a different game, probably. But yeah, I have not done much mobile gaming. Mobile gaming has a different connotation now. I mean, I haven't done much of any recent console gaming, and even when I did have consoles, I didn't have, like, Game Boys and stuff. Mm-hmm. 13 was bananas too, sure. I mean, that sounds right. Handheld gaming, there you go, there you go. I mean, I don't do much mobile gaming either, for that matter, but... We've caught up with chat. I did it. All right. Did we have any other thoughts? Anything else we want to do? We want to. We had some good discussion there. Some good discussion. Ghost Trick. That game didn't jive with me super well. Did we miss any other good picks on the emotional but easy to play front? The Homestuck talk. I haven't even read the Homestuck epilogue stuff. We mentioned that earlier, Khadgar. My 2 lowest rated games are Psychic World for the Sega Master System and Home Improvement Power Tool Pursuit for the SNES. The reason those games get a 1 is that like for a while I kept saying stuff like, well, I didn't like that game, but I don't regret playing it. And then finally someone asked, well, Twitch, are there any games you do regret playing? And I figured out the answer was those 2 games. Home Improvement Power Tool Pursuit and Psychic World. Those are the games that I truly regretted playing. Superman for the N64? Nope, that one gets a 2. Color a Dinosaur, the coloring book for Nintendo, also gets a 2. Those games get a 1. The epilogue just came out like 2 months ago, Hypersphere. How far into Baba am I, good John? Approximately 87%, let's say. I'm close to that realm, good job, but we did manage to beat 2 levels tonight, so we're not completely stuck. Ori and the Blind Forest is way too hard. Like, I think it's actually too hard in some ways. Like, the in-game has some problems, but it has some good emotional moments. Long Live the Queen is too gamey. This is an interesting idea. It's not really emotional, but it is funny and it's short and it's free. So Dr. Legskov is interesting as a pick kind of in that realm. And that's just a walking simulator thing, so that's anyone can play that. So I think the music in Ori works better in the game than out of the game. I think there's some difficulty pacing issues. The final escape sequence should have had checkpoints. There was some weird control issue things that it seemed like only I was affected by, so... but holy moly, the visuals. Like, you don't hear me talking about the visuals in a game very often, but the visuals in Ori are fantastic. It's a beautiful game. And, I want to say, like, the first escape sequence in Ori and the Blind Forest was just ridiculously satisfying. Like, there are not too many just raw gameplay experiences that I've gotten like that kind of just lovely sense of flow from. I'm not terribly behind, Railcoon. I don't think if I even actually played Bubsy, I don't know. They're games I would not like, but I haven't really played much in the way of Bubsy. I don't read books nearly as much as I would like, Thomas. I did a lot in middle school, mostly, but I recently read A Fault in Our Stars, and it was pretty good. The Raven is a really good poem. Honestly did that too, Spherical. Yeah, like, I mean, I kind of understand why they thought it was a good idea in Ori, but like, it's like, oh, well, you've got to do this whole sequence and like to feel the whole feeling of the fight, but like in practice it just means that it actually pulls you out of the experience. It pulls you out of the narrative because it's very hard and it's very long, so you just keep dying and keep redoing the same stuff over and over again, and you kind of... It loses the impact of the, like, threat and the escape sequence sort of thing, so... And, yeah, you guys were talking about Grease. Grease is a potential one to look at. It didn't really land for me, so I don't really personally recommend it on the emotional front, but I do recommend it as far as the casual front goes, right? Like, it's a very light game that pretty much anyone could play, and you know, it's a pretty game, and some people really found it emotionally compelling. I was not one of those people, I'm afraid. Cuphead's a 7, Raven. If I cared more about the aesthetic, then it would probably be at least a 7.5, because its aesthetic is amazingly well done. It just doesn't, it's not something that, like, I'm super enthusiastic about. Like, I enjoyed the aesthetic, but not enough to, like, make up for some of its other frustrations. But yeah, I mean, like, so I recently read A Fault in Our Stars and enjoyed that. It's very much in its young adult category, but it was, you know, emotional and enjoyable. I like the Vlogbrothers quite a bit in general, like John Green and Hank Green, and the book wasn't like any better or any more emotionally touching than a lot of other John Green's other content, but it was still good. Otherwise, what have I read? Like anytime recently, Homestuck. I read The Old Man and the Sea, and that was okay. I liked a lot of Piers Anthony when I was younger, and wouldn't recommend most of those now. I would probably still recommend Split Infinity and On a Pale Horse. But I'm not. I'm unfortunately not super well read, so I can't like recommend from personal experience Slaughterhouse-5 or something like that, for example. But I might eventually read some of that. Good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Long Live the Queen replay? I don't think so, Spherical. We've done a lot of Long Live the Queen. I do need to get the rest of the playthroughs up on YouTube at some point. Like we don't have all the playthroughs on YouTube, but we've done like what, 4 playthroughs, I think, something like that. They pretended they weren't sometimes ad hoc in Phoenix Wright. Like they're like the judge starts out utterly incompetent, and then he shows like a couple glimmers of understanding, and then goes back to completely incompetent. Like it felt like for a minute that he might actually recognize, like, oh, the world is changing, and I'm no longer like it made sense even narratively that he would become more competent because he's no longer like constantly being bribed by Red, White, and Blue Corp. Or excuse me, I should have said Red, White, and Blue Corp's blackmail. There we go. That's how we're supposed to phrase that. Like he started becoming more competent, and it would have made narrative sense for him to be dumb and then become more competent. And I was like, cool, they're doing. Oh, never mind. He's just dumb again. Oh man. Oh, speaking of sequences that just put me in a flow state that were extremely enjoyable, the first time I did the Muffet fight, that was the same thing. It was like, oh man, that fight was super satisfying. Have a good night, Rail King. He's usually fair? Well, I've only played the first 4 cases in the first game, and I would not say that he is usually fair, but, you know, so it goes. Oh, Wonder Song would be actually another recommendation, potentially, Raven. Like, this is like a almost 7.5. Like, it's too long for me, but it definitely is an easy to play game that does have some good emotional moments. So Wonder Song's a possibility. Return of the Obra Dinn is an interesting thought as well. In that regard, like, it has some awkward gaminess, and certainly if you're trying to 100% it, it's gamey. But it does some really good storytelling. Really good storytelling. Hey, Woof. I mean, it really depends, Khadgar. I think you might find Undertale still worth playing potentially. Because at the, like you will see stuff in your playthrough that you did not see elsewhere. Like that is guaranteed. But yeah, you could wait a little bit too. Just wait a little bit, and like you'll forget some things, and like even if you've read or seen a lot of the game, you will still see stuff and make decisions in your own playthrough that you never saw anyone else do. And you know, like the actual gameplay is pretty decent. Like it's enjoyable. It unless you hate bullet hell. Hive Swamp's almost a pick, but probably not. Been jumping around, so we never actually like did an actual like skim straight through the list. I think both of those were brought up earlier, Thomas. But yeah, Journey and Tale of Two Sons might be reasonable picks. Yeah, Ad Hoc. Oberdin would be a good playthrough together. Yep. Like if... There's some other puzzle games that fall into that category. I mean, a lot of harder puzzle games are actually pretty good for playing together with other people. Like, one of my elementary school friends I know played through The Witness with his significant other. Please Don't Touch Anything was definitely a puzzle game that I really enjoyed, but like I think if I actually did it like strict, like no backseating and just tried to play through it myself, like I would have liked it a lot less. But we actually did it super loose on that one and just were like, all right, if you don't know the answer, feel free to speak it up in chat, any ideas you have, and we just had a lot of fun tackling that as a community, and that was awesome. Yeah, we're almost we'll get to Please Don't Touch Anything soon. It's a 7.5. And I did some of these point and clicks like Secret of Monkey Island with friends where we were playing along with our own game but playing it like at the same time as each other. And one of the big advantages there is that a lot of these like point and click adventures tend to have at least a couple of BS puzzles in them. So if someone gets stuck, another person playing through that got past it can, you know, give them reasonable hints and stuff like that. So that's a nice another way to experience games communally. I have not played Full Metal Furies. I didn't really enjoy Fran Bow very much. We made it about halfway through Fran Bow. And yeah, we already talked to, like, I still actually like both Gravity Ghost and Gardens Between as kind of curveball picks here. Like, these are lesser known games, but they were both emotional experiences for me that are fairly casual gameplay-wise, and, like, I mean, I want to point them out and support them because they aren't very well-known games, you know? There's a please don't touch anything. I talked about To the Moon. Valkyria Chronicles is too long and has too much gameplay, but does have some emotionally compelling moments. Transistor, same camp. Probably too heavy on the gameplay, but has some emotion for sure. Stop signs. I don't even know if I'm looking forward to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I guess I am. As long as it's still, as long as I can still be a Malkavian and it's still really funny, then I'm on board. Like, hopefully the gameplay is like less trash, but as long as I can talk to a stop sign, it's all good. The Sexy Brutale. I mean, it's not terribly emotionally compelling as far as I'm concerned, but it's kind of a murder mystery sort of experience. That, I mean, I don't like that experience of constantly doing the same thing over and over again. I really don't like it. I hated it in Majora's Mask. I didn't like it in Sexy Brutale either. But I do think it was mostly well executed for what it was. This is all a bunch of gameplay. Celeste is an option, actually, because keep in mind Celeste has a very customizable assist settings, so you can like tweak the difficulty to whatever's comfortable. Like ideally something that's still like has some challenge for her, but isn't too frustrating, you know. And that has a pretty strong story as well. Battle Block Theater has a silly story that's a lot of fun and can be played co-op. Yeah, it's very adjustable, Raven. Like, you can do stuff like, so Celeste by default, pretty difficult, but doable on the main campaign, and then it has extra hard levels on top of that, right? For the people that want the extra challenge. But the assist mode, you can make it so that, so normally you would, let's say you have one dash, you can make it so you have an extra dash. So you have 2 dashes, so if you screw up, you have another chance to dash. Or you can have infinite dashes. Or everything can be slower, so you have more time to react. Like, it has lots of adjustments like that, so you can just tweak it up a little bit or a lot depending on a person's needs, both in their gameplay experience or maybe other disability or things like that. How much Baba did we do? About 2 hours. We solved 2 levels that we hadn't beaten yet. Or 3. 3! We solved 3 levels, didn't we? Yeah, it was 3. How many levels left? I don't know, like a 12 to 15 probably. All right, I think we've covered everything I would recommend in this row. Chat's offered a variety of cool stuff too. So hopefully you can find something that that jives, right? Is there anything below Wondersong? Oh yeah, that was at the bottom of the 7th, because it's newer. Is there any 6.5s? I mean, that's starting to stretch it. We have to go into the next page at that point. Go into the next page. Who wants to do that? The emotionally compelling story that is Wii Sports. Trying to think if there's any of these that were like, all right, well, it did. Well, I guess, yeah, Life is Strange, right? That's down here. That is my lowest rated game that's made me cry. So, you know, that is in a weird recommendation zone. Yeah, Life is Strange is one worth considering for this. I thought it did a lot of things wrong and was paced poorly and shouldn't have tried to add its little gameplay elements and had some inconsistencies in the world and frustrations like that brought me out of the experience, but I know it landed really solidly as a major emotional game for a lot of people.